Welcome to another episode of Real BMX Racing, the podcast. Today's show is sponsored by the #1 BMX Starting Gate Pro Start, Answer BMX, BMX Connect, and ThorMX. Today's guest is USA BMX Women's Expert Rider and Team Manager of DK Bicycles, Lisa Motley. Lisa, welcome to the show.
I mean, usually we start from the beginning, ask people where they started. Let me ask you, where are you now? Who is Lisa Motley right now?
Wow. First of all, wow, that's a really seeded question. Can you expound on that a little bit? What do you really want?
This is a BMX podcast, right? So in the BMX world, where are you? Like, okay. Are you a rider? Are you a manager? Are you a track operator? Are you like, what do you do?
I am not a track operator. That is one thing I am not. I am, let's see, I'm 55 years old. So I am towards the end of my BMX career. I started when I was 12 and I have done it all. And currently I work for DK Bicycles out of Ohio. I used to live in Ohio when I was a kid. And I grew up with the people from DK, and they're all lovely human beings. They really are. And that's kind of why I wanted to end my career with DK. It is the last company I think I'll work for in BMX.
Awesome.
Probably ever. I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm getting it pretty old, so it's probably ever. I've done a lot of things, but I'm a team manager. I'm a salesperson, and I do mostly race. So there's a lot of people at DK. There's Tommy Zula. There is Mike McHugh. There is Josh Smith. There is Jared Rafflick. And we all kind of cross over each other, but I don't know a lot about freestyle. So I kind of stick to race because that's what I know. Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So I guess now we could take it back to where it all started. You said you started racing at 12 years old?
I guess technically I was 11, but I was really close to 12. I started in Bogey Downs, Michigan. Like, it was a huge bowl arena, and people in Michigan know Bogey Downs. And eventually it burnt down to the ground. But it was a really cool arena. And I had to share a bike with my brother. And only he got to practice. So, but I made the mains and I got 5th. And again, didn't get to practice. And it was ABA. And let's see, later on that year, I won the Worlds. So I did in May.
No, did you fall in love with it from the beginning?
Yeah. Yeah, it was cool. It was really cool. It was exciting. It was fun. I have a younger brother and I have an older brother. My older brother's name is Jay and my younger brother's name is Drew. I know that's weird because my husband's name is also Drew. Yeah. In fact, that's the first thing we talked about when I met him at a BMX race. I met my husband at a BMX race and I said, I introduced myself. He introduced himself and he said, I'm Drew. And I said, that's my brother's name. And he said, is he here? No.
That's fine.
So, yeah, that was weird. I was buying a number plate because back then NBL had, if you were 16 or over, you were pro. That was it. And so I guess that's what I was doing. But I needed a number. So I went into the bike shop and the bike shop owner was watching pros, but I had to go. And Drew just handed me a plate because he was working for his sponsor, which was Outspoken Bicycles out of Orlando. And this race was in Jacksonville. So he just handed me the plate, told me to come back. Whole honor system. He goes, I don't know how much plates cost. And he goes, I'm just here to make sure no one steals everything. And I'm like, so I came back. Later that day, I broke my arm.
Oh.
Racing pro. Yeah. Wasn't a great day. But I met Drew, so that was cool. I thought it was pulled out of the socket because it was hanging much lower than the other one.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. I've never broken anything big. I didn't know. I thought it would hurt way more than that. I thought I'd be dying. But so I kind of like held it like this, you know. And back then, you would have to wait until the main started. And my son was racing. My son made the mains. He did really well. So I wanted him to be able to race on Sunday, but you couldn't sign up until the main started on Saturday. So I sat there and talked to Drew. I was actually hitting on Drew the whole time with my arm like this. So as he was putting kind of stuff away for the bike shop and, for the night, and I said, I'll see you tomorrow. And when I came back, they had me in an immobilizer, which is kind of like this really professional sling and then this thing that goes all the way around you just to basically keep it in place. And he said, what is it? And I go, oh no, it's totally broken. Like not even the same zip code. Like it, it was completely broken. And he goes, and you sat here and talked to me for like 2 hours. And he goes, I'm going to tell all my friends you can take a punch. And I'm like,
you can take a punch.
Yeah. So I was much younger. I was like in my 30s. And I didn't give guys my phone number, but I gave him my phone number and he never called me. And I was like, dude, I am so much cuter than you are. Why did you not call me?
Right.
And have you seen my husband? He did not call me. And so I was hooked. I was hooked bad. Like the one guy that doesn't call me. Yeah. He's for me.
So how much older was your older brother than you were?
2.5 years or almost 3 years.
So did you guys start racing at the same time or did he race before that?
Just slightly before that.
Okay.
So he was living in Cincinnati with my grandmother and some kid on the next block was racing. So he took him. So he started racing in Norwalk, Ohio. That was Tom Ritzenthaler's dad's track.
Okay.
Tom Ritzenthaler, just in case you don't know, is the Olympic track builder. But before he was that guy, he was also the NBL track builder.
Yeah.
And everyone calls him Tom Ritz, but that's the same guy. So I've known Tom Ritz since he was, 13, 14. Everything happened in Ohio. It's kind of crazy.
So you borrowed your brother's bike.
Yep.
And so when did you get your own bike?
Shortly after that, because I made the main and he didn't. So,
Yeah,
and his big bike was really heavy. So I think the next bike I got was, a PK Ripper. And they realized that when I had a lighter bike, I did really well.
So we usually ask if you had the bike that you started with, but it sounds like you don't.
No. So when I had a Schwinn-Sting, and that's what I won the Worlds on. And yeah, I would take that back in a heartbeat. Because although my husband said it's only got a 19-inch top tube, which seems ridiculous now.
Right.
But back in the day, I guess that was pretty normal. But yeah, I would take that back in a heartbeat. It was chrome. It was awesome.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Only if we know now, right?
Right.
Oh, one of the things I wanted to ask you too is, so you've seen how people now when they race, they are so all in about it, from training to diet to exercise to everything all about it. We grew up in an era where, we watched athletes smoking on the sidelines. Right. It just, we just didn't do that back in the days. Yeah. Were you somebody that knew, like, all right, I got to stay fit, I got to kind of do all my things, or you just kind of did whatever and just showed up?
Yeah, I love to ride my bike all the time. All the time. Like I was that kid in the neighborhood that all the kids would show up at my house and pick me up, like to ride. And then we'd ride across town and we'd pick up Billy Aw. And then we'd ride to the BMX track and like ride for 5 hours. And then we'd have to ride all the way across town again. So I grew up in Mansfield, Ohio, and that's kind of between Cleveland and Columbus. But I grew up in the same town as Billy Aw. Do you guys know who that is?
No.
Yeah? Okay. It's okay. Nicest guy in BMX. Great guy. Grew up in Ohio. He was a pro for like 30 years. He's amazing. Yeah. But like we're the same age by like, I don't know, a couple weeks. And I would race him. Mm-hmm. But we would ride together in the summer, like all the time. And we would even work out together. But cool. Working out was like going to the Nautilus at the Park Avenue West racquetball club. So it was, yeah, we worked out, but I don't think we had a trainer. I think we had a spreadsheet that we had to like, I did 15 of these. I don't know. We didn't have a whole lot of direction.
Right? That sounds about right. That's what I remember.
How long did it take before you were on an official bike team?
At the Worlds, I got picked up by Factory 09. So really quick.
Oh, so probably within that first year then.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I don't think I purchased a bike after that until, let's see, 2002 or 3 maybe. And I bought a Stats Cruiser. I think that was the only bike I've ever purchased besides the Sting.
So did you race cruiser at one point?
I did as an adult, but not
Okay.
as a kid. They didn't. Okay, I'm gonna date myself here because you both look. I know you're younger than me, but you look also younger than me, Everett. There wasn't cruiser when I started racing. Not even 26-inch.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was no cruiser then. Back when I was a kid. Yeah, that was real. There was no pros. There were pros, but there wasn't even a girls' pro class. In fact, they called girls powder puffs.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Yep. That was a thing.
So when you say there was no cruiser, do you mean like across the board or just no women's
Across
cruiser?
the board. There was no cruiser class. There was no cruiser bike yet.
So when was
I am
the
100. I'm like a T-Rex. Like seriously. I did that.
When was
I did
the first
that
cruiser number? I know I've raced like 11 cruiser maybe. So that would have been 83. Something like that.
I would say 84 or 85. They were just start getting into it. And I would be shocked because you'd be 11 and you would have been riding either a 26-inch cruiser or one of the first 24s.
It was a Schwinn Predator. That was the cruiser I had. My brother had it.
I'll bet you BA would be able to tell you because BA's brother rode like one of the first cruisers. It's in the museum in
Really?
Tulsa.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I gotta look into that because I didn't know I feel like now that I was at the beginning of that whole cruiser thing then, that's cool.
That was a big deal.
When was your last race?
It didn't go well. Remember that. Let's see. I won the Grands in 2011. And I think, so I had a knee replacement in 2013. I was still riding for Black Crown. And I came back and rode one more, like that rest of that season. So I had the knee replacement in the January and I finished that season. So 2013.
Okay.
I came back, won my first national coming back, but it hurt. So it was either race or sleep. You couldn't do both. Like it hurts.
So some of the women that are racing in the class that you would race now, were they racing back then?
Yes. Kim Turner, Leslie Carter, although she is, I think, a bit younger than me. Who else? Quite a few of them, actually. They come back. They all come back. You guys are back, right?
Yeah.
We all come back.
Right? Missed it. So much love there. That's why that's like me and Shannon just look at it like, man, we should have never left.
That's kind of the way I felt about it. I actually brought my kids back. My son was acting up, and I figured if I would have to watch him all the time, he needed something that would make him feel good about himself. So I brought him to the BMX track, and then eventually, this is also something very few people know anymore. People like 20 years ago knew, but I have 5 kids, and they all raced. Like even I have a set of identical twins, and even the twins raced.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, were they doing class and cruiser? Because that's a lot of bikes.
It is. You should have seen the bike rack on our van. Like Drew extended it like 3 feet, and we were still like attaching bikes on top of it. Like zip tying them on top. It was crazy.
So were all of you racing at the same time?
Yes. Do you remember the Christmas Classic in Ohio, where they would pay you to go? Florida would pay you to go, like pay you back your entry fees. One time, Alice Bixler, she gave us like $700 because all of us raced. Drew and I and Josh all raced few classes, and I think all the kids raced open, and she just kept peeling it off. It was good. It was good stuff. So, yeah. So yeah, Drew and Josh and I all raced 2 bikes. It was expensive, but we were real estate appraisers and we made good money, so it was okay then. Not so much now, but it was good then. Housing will come back. It'll be okay.
Right. What I was gonna say is, do you remember when you, I guess the gap when you stopped? What was it? Just you just didn't want to ride anymore, or was it just injuries?
I went road biking. I started racing road.
Okay.
My brother had gotten into it. In fact, my brother, this is kind of crazy because you guys are all need to do this. There is a new documentary about Lance Armstrong, and there is a picture, and my brother's in it. My brother was on a team called Montgomery Subaru out in California with Lance, and they're in these like rainbow colored jerseys, and he is sitting on the ground in front of him. Lance talks about it being his first team, his first real team, and my brother's actually in the picture.
Cool.
But he was racing road. So he thought I should race road. It's really boring. I know that road racing, but I have this really short attention span. It's about 45 seconds. That's real. Right. Yeah. And next thing I know, I'm watching stuff in the grass. Like I'm going 12 miles an hour. I'm watching like stuff in the grass. I cannot. Yeah. I'm just not road race material.
Thank God BMX races are quick, huh?
Right? 45 seconds. Yeah.
Now, did you ever, like when it came to racing BMX, did you ever beat your brother?
No. He would never race me. I could probably beat him now. I would totally beat him now. And then my younger brother is like 7 years younger than me. And he was really cute. It was really funny is that I rode for 09 and they rode for Wizard. And Wizard was a Dave Marietti hot shot. I don't know if you guys, Everett, where are you?
Well, I'm in North Carolina too, but I'm from California.
Where's Everett?
Me?
No, I'm sorry.
We're both in North Carolina, but he's from the West Coast.
Okay, you are from. Okay. Do you know Dave Marietti, hot shot? Okay. He was young. He was like 18, and he started his own number plate company, and then he kind of turned it into a jersey company. They rode for a competing number plate company. Yep. It's like they could have ridden for anybody, but nope. A competing number plate company.
Wow.
I've heard of that brand, like later on, of course, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. They rode for Wizard. I rode for 09. That happened.
So do you plan on racing again?
I had this grand plan of racing 51, 55 novice at the Grands. Because I am the most aggressive rider I've ever met. And a lot of us are. Like we quit and we're just overly aggressive. But I heard that a lot of the cruisers will just hop into novice to get some extra laps. Mm-hmm. And everybody in cruiser has been a pro. Every single person in cruiser was a pro first.
Yeah.
So I don't want to race a bunch of pros, a bunch of ex-pros. I want to race novices. That's the whole point of racing novice.
Yeah.
If I'm going to race men, I want to race novice. So I don't know. Not sure. Racing women. What?
I don't even think that should be allowed. If you were pro at one point in your career, there's no way you should be novice anytime. I don't care.
Agreed. And that is the rule. But I've never been pro in ABA or USA BMX. And it's been more than 5 years since I raced. And with the whole knee replacement, I should be able to. But I think it comes down to your local track. If your local track operator is willing to go to bat for you, I think they'll give me a novice license. But it doesn't do me any good. I can't race the guys at the Grands. So that's really a lot. I had to wreck somebody to get in my last main at the Grands. I'm going to go ahead and admit that. I don't know if I'm proud of that or not.
I mean, we're athletes. That's what we do.
I didn't get disqualified. I could have. I would have been okay with it. But everybody in my class said I was the dirtiest rider in the class. And I was like, I'm okay with that. There's nothing badass about me. If that's it, okay. All right. I'm like a grandma,
Right.
If I'm the dirtiest person in 46, 50, okay. I'll take it.
Right.
I'll just think about it in carpool lane. Okay.
So coming back, what type of bike would you ride? Would you ride a cruiser in the novice class, or would you ride a 20-inch?
I think I would ride a cruiser, or actually an OS20. If I can get Bill Danishek to build an OS20, which I think I can. He thinks they're on the way out. And I know that the older guys, they all love the OS20. Everybody in Drew's class rides an OS20. Everyone in like Josh's class rides an OS20. They love the OS20. But he thinks in race that it's on its way out, but I don't think so. What do you guys think?
I don't think so either. I've seen it come up and it's at its peak right now. I think it's going to continue for a little while at least. I don't see it going anywhere anytime soon. Like you said, it's the older guys that come back. They get on the 20-inch bike and they're like, oh, hell no. And they get on the OS20 and they're like, oh, yeah, this is it. I could do this,
It's a little more forgiving.
It is.
It's not quite as jet fighter, pilot type. It's still responsive, but it's still forgiving. I like it. So I would love to, if I were going to come back, it would definitely be an OS20, I think.
So I'm sure you rode a few.
I've ridden some bikes. Yep. I talked to Shannon, so he knows where I used to work. And in 2017 at the Worlds, Bill Husada, and we were talking about an OS20 because at that point there weren't any. And he had we were at the Olive Garden in Rock Hill, and he gets out all of these cocktail napkins, and he actually drew up plans for the OS20 right there at the table.
Wow.
And he built it around the wheels. He didn't build it. He didn't take the frame and adjust it. He built a frame around the wheels. And that's what made his frame ride like it does versus making it some kind of a hokey bike that doesn't ride well.
Right.
That's what made the Yeses and the Hydrogens ride so well in the OS20 model. It was cool.
I did love one. It was nice.
I know somebody that probably still has one or two for sale. So.
Okay. I'm like, Shannon's like, don't do it.
No, because I wrote it OS. As soon as I got an OS20, I was like, oh, this is it. Because when I came back, I hopped on a regular 20. I felt like I was gonna die. I actually almost did. And then I hopped on an OS20, and I was like, this is it. Built one, rode one for a while. But then I knew I was gonna start racing faster guys. I kept hearing that they're not as fast out the gate. So I'm like, all right, let me go back to a regular 20. I'm starting to get better. I could get on the regular 20, and I did. And it felt good. So I stuck with it. Now, like just recently, I've had thoughts of OS20s again because it just felt so good and I felt safer on it. So feeling safer means faster to me. So I'll probably end up going faster on OS20 at the end of the day, But yeah, I don't know. I'm just all over the place. I mean, there's too many options. That's the problem with bikes right now. Too many sizes, options, parts. It's like back in the day, there was just like one size fits all, pretty much. You rode the bike or you didn't ride the bike. You just learned the bike. I don't care if the cranks were too long, bars were too big. You rode the bike. That was it.
Yeah, I didn't even know there were different sizes of bars. Like, were there? I don't. Maybe I don't know.
I didn't think so either. Not when I had mine.
Yeah, I had the big ass CW bars. I was like 8 years old, man.
Who did I? Or I had some with bends at the bar at the
power lights. I had the power lights. So, yep, that's what they were.
Grab-ons that made like calluses like right on the inside of your hands, which were really unattractive. But yeah, Yeah.
I love those bars. Those were probably my favorite ones because I had a Robinson. So like once I got the Power Light bars, I just remember switching them out, and I was like, I didn't want to get rid of them, but the Power Light bars just felt right. So I was just like, we'll just keep those on.
Those
But
might be like overall, like throughout time, the most popular handlebars. Like I've never heard people talk about any other bars like that. Like, you know,
The Power Light or the CWs?
Power Lights.
They were cool. I remember going to a race and there was a higher balloon and it was the grab-on balloon. And you could go there and they would put new grips on your bikes, or at least the new sleeve, like the new spongy sleeve. And I was like, oh, grab-on's got a balloon. That's pretty cool. Now Bali's got a helicopter. It's crazy.
wow.
I know. I don't know if that's actually like there, but it said Bali on it. I don't know. They got a commercial. Weird.
Did you change your gears per track ever?
I've never been able to work on my own bike. So somebody changed my gears. It was Billy Aw's dad, and then it was my husband. So, so on Saturdays when we lived in Ohio, we would hit Toledo in the morning, and then we would go to Norwalk, and then we would hit Mansfield, and we would hit all three on Saturday.
Nice.
And there were a bunch of families that did the same thing, and we would all like third moto. You know, we'd get there before the last moto. We would all transfer. We'd hit the main. And you'd come off the finish line and go directly to the van or the trailer, and you put your bike in. And you don't even get trophies. You go straight to the next race.
Yeah.
But it was the Billy Aw, their family. It was Tim Janes, Team Janes. It was Janes, definitely plural. And me and Mark Hardy. And like we just traveled as a group through these 3 tracks on Saturdays.
That's cool.
And it was cool. It was a really cool childhood.
How many worlds have you done?
Oh, well, I've raced in 3 or 4. No, I've raced in 4.
Okay. Were they all here in the US or?
No, I've actually raced one in Birmingham, England. It was the one that they did 30 and over cruiser instead of 40 and over women's cruiser.
Oh.
And I got semi'd. But it's different now. There is always a huge feature. It's like this deciding thing. If you aren't going to jump the feature at the bottom of the hill, you don't deserve to be in the main. And that's how I felt about it. I'm like, you know what? I did not do that. And I'm okay with that.
Listen, we just interviewed somebody. I'm not going to say the name, but it's just talking about that, right, E? Mm-hmm. And just decided, you know what, like that hill and that jump is not for me. Like I'm going to decide how to do this whole thing without that, because just I don't feel comfortable on it. And I'm totally cool with that because I don't feel comfortable on that at all.
You got to do what's right for you.
Birmingham, it was really weird because the dirt over there is gray and it's off-putting, but they have these yellow like fluorescent lights. Mm-hmm. So when you're way up there, you cannot see the lip of the jump, like until you are on it.
Oh,
yeah. The depth perception just wasn't there for me. And for Birmingham, the hill was scaffolding and it was indoors. And so there was only one hill. So the pitch of the hill was the same. And so the pro hill was just back farther. It was the same hill. And it was like, you ever been to like a water park where they got that straight down water slide where the bottom just drops out? Yeah. It was kind of like that. And there was a huge set of doubles at the bottom. And you're just flying. And I dead sailered it in practice and I scared myself senseless. And I could never hit it that fast again. And I went with a friend named Emily, and Emily said, I'll pay your way if you help me win. And I'm like, I don't know how I can help you win, but I'll go.
Yeah.
So there were times where I was willing to go to jail. So there was that. So the first practice, they only give you 2 practice sessions. And the first 30 minutes, you don't get a gate. And the second, 30 minutes, you get a gate. And so our first practice session, they didn't have cruisers. You know, you got your sticker on your bike and you got a wristband, and they didn't have the cruisers scanned in. So only the 20 inches. And this was like, and we're like, okay, our practice is going to start. Our practice is about to start. So I distracted some people and told Emily to keep going. And that was my contribution to her winning the world.
Right.
And she's like, but you're going to get in trouble. And I'm like, but you're not. So it all worked out. She won the worlds. I also held her on the gate like a 4-year-old. Like, I held her bike between my legs, like, because they weren't doing the gate, and she hadn't hit the feature. So I'm like, it's just like a table. It's just a table. It's just, and so I can hear her going down the hill going, just a table, just a table, just a table. And it was cool because she won, and it was spectacular, and it was awesome.
That's funny because that's how I feel about Rock Hill.
I gotta tell you, I've never raced Rock Hill, so yeah. It looks really tame from the side, but I don't think it probably is. Is it scary from the? Is it scary
from looking down? For like novices, definitely. Like, I just remember when I got up there, I was probably just turning 42, 43, and I was looking down, and I kept telling myself, I just saw the 8-year-old novices drop in. If they could do it, I could do it.
Just a table.
Right. And that gate dropped, and they all started pedaling, and I was just like, just coasted down and just played catch up.
Yeah. I don't know. I heard it got better, but does it ever get better? I don't know. I think it's scary. Do you know who Monardo Simon is? Because it's been a bit, but you might know him. So, well, his mom was in the Navy, so he's been in a couple different places. Technically, I would say Philly, but now he lives in Florida. So he was on my team, and it was when they first moved the pros to times, like, 1 o'clock, 1:30, whatever. And they said they weren't going to run the semis until this time, but then for whatever reason, they changed their minds. Monardo is not on site. His girlfriend decided she needed McDonald's. So they're at McDonald's. And everybody in his class has got their wheel over the gate, which I thought was really cool. But he is flying in his car up. He just gets out of his car, he puts it in park, and he like opens the car door and just runs towards the hill. And this is the last time I will ever hold a gate for somebody, and I'm going to tell you why. He runs up there. He is putting on his shirt as he's climbing the steps. And I got team kids, holding his pants, and a shoe here and a shoe there. And his bike is up there already. Gets his helmet on. And he gets up there. And someone kicked out over that first jump. And he breaks his hand. And if I had just let him skip that semi, I think he ended up losing his construction job. I mean, I'm just like, I will never, ever. Someone's going to miss their moto. It's just a moto.
Yeah.
So, remember we were talking about those things? It's one of those things. Monardo Simon. I will never, ever hold another gate for another rider. If you miss your moto, you miss your moto. Do you know who'll never miss moto? Manuela. The assassin. Yeah. We talked about this little girl yesterday and how she has ruined me picking up girls going forward because she's from Colombia. And I was talking about how the racers were just different. Like, the families are different, but also they just have a different mindset. And I never had to go and look for her, she never asked me when her practice was. When she'd fall down, she'd be like, no, I'm going to go back up there. There was one time where she got hurt and the medic was like, did you hit your head? Are you seeing double? And she's like, yeah. And so they said, oh no, well, based on your questions, I think you have a concussion. And she's walking away. And I'm like, okay, we're just going to go ahead and we're going to take off your stuff. And she goes, no, I have another moto. And I said, Manuela, they're not going to let you race again. And she goes, why? And I go, because you have a concussion. She goes, no, I don't. So I took her back to the medic and I go, can you ask her a question that you can't answer with yes or no? I go, Manuel, are you a fire truck? And she goes, yeah. I go, why don't you ask her something like, what's the last thing you remember? And she's like, falling. I fell and, and then I got up and then I was here. And I go, she doesn't, English wasn't her first. Right. Stop asking her yes or no questions. So anyway, that we talked, Shana and I talked about how that particular girl ruined everybody coming after her because she had such a work ethic, and it changed even guys I will pick up for going forward. She just changed. She wasn't, how do I say this? She's an assassin. I will pick up assassins. I don't have time for prima donnas. I need assassins. Those kids are ready to race. Not ready to wreck people. That's not what I mean. But they're there to race.
Yeah.
So.
And so previous to all that, like, how did you go about picking people up for your team? Are you just looking for the fastest people? Are you looking for like, a rider with a great family? Are you looking for, just like what do you?
Families come into it for sure. You got a crazy family. I don't care how fast you are. Yep. You could be the nicest kid ever. If you got a crazy family,
yeah,
a crazy family will ruin a ride for you faster than anything else. I don't care how much stuff I've given you. I will not wait out the week. I'm like, I gotta let you go. I'm really sorry. I typically do not pick out riders. I wait till they come to me.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good.
Because when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, all factory teams basically offer you the same thing. If they didn't, you wouldn't be a factory team. There's only so much you can give somebody. That's it, Right. And I would want someone to come to me. If they want to ride your bike, they want to ride for you. The kids that ride for me and the kids that come to ask if, like, I had somebody who rode for me before who was a pro, and he has asked me, he's like, I'm going to reclass. I'd like to ride for you. And I'm like, I want you to ride for me. All we're rating for is frames. So I will have a very fast team, but they will all be people who rode for me before. And I don't know, I think they know that I'll be the first person at the finish line. If they're about to get into a fight, I'll be the first person at the finish line. And I always tell kids, you know what? I'm not going to tell you not to get in a fight at the finish line, but please take off your jersey. And most of them will never, ever, ever get into a fist fight because I say that. I had a rider. His name was Greg, and Greg had a great quarter. I mean, he, no hitting, there was no contact, there was no cutting. I mean, he did slide into a space in the first turn, but everybody, even this other kid, they all made it. And this other kid decided to wreck him after the finish line. I'm not going to tell Greg, no, you should not fight him. No, I think you should. There are times where maybe it's appropriate. I'm not going to say that's not appropriate. It might be appropriate. But as he was getting up, he was taking off his jersey. You're like, oh, well.
Here it goes.
Now you found out.
Right.
That's how it is.
Right. So, I mean, you don't go after anybody, but do you still look at people's media presence just to see like what's hot, what's out there, like who?
I do, because I got burned once. Remember one of the first team you told me about yesterday when we were talking, and I don't want to say any names. And he's on the team, and his dad runs the team. It's from where it's out west. And I didn't check, and I had somebody on my team, and he said, are you aware he has a video out there telling people to kill the police? And I go, what? Yep. Do you know now? Yep.
Wow.
Yep. I got burned. And that went south. And that sucked. Just the whole going south thing. Because Rennie, when I told Rennie goes, we can't have that. And I go, I know. So we had to undo everything we had just done. We let him keep everything that we gave him. But, you know, having to tell somebody, that's not okay. Yeah. Not in BMX.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's funny because coming back, I didn't really, you know, I got to talk to a local pro that was at our track, and he was working on
really fast.
Oh yeah.
Is he good looking?
Most would say so. So anyway, he was working on music. What's that?
Okay. He's gonna come ride for me.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Awesome. That would be awesome.
It's gonna be awesome.
That's crazy. All right.
I can't wait.
I'm
now excited.
Learn something new every day.
Right?
So anyway, he was working on music and I thought it was really good, you know, and I'm like, yeah, why can't you put this out? And he's like, because I'm not really talking about the stuff that the team that I'm on wants me to talk about. So it's like not really within my contract to put out music right now. So I get that. You're a brand, you know, you got to protect the brand, you know.
The brand's kind of important.
Yeah.
And I don't mind if you put it out under a different name, but then that kind of undoes like his brand and that, you know, and it's not just me. I don't mind it here and there, but Ray or Gus or some of the other people in the industry, they share. And we'll go into that a little further because that's kind of important. But they go, I can't share his stuff. I can't share his media because there's a lot of curse words and the content is not okay. And they talk about doing this to women and I cannot repost this. And so this does me no good to give him pants or jerseys or whatever if I cannot share his media.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
And that's the problem.
Isn't that like 95% of the riders right now? When you look at the Instagrams and they put music behind like them going through a rhythm section, like the music's talk about like pimps, hoes, guns, drugs, sex. It's like, yeah, it's the clean version, but we know what the song is.
Yep.
And it's like, you know, sometimes these kids are like 12, 13, 14 years old. And it's like, you know, sometimes you could even see it's ran by the moms of pops. They might be selecting the music. I don't know. But it's like when I see that at being older now, like, and it probably shouldn't bother me, but it does. It's like,
right.
Do you even know what you're riding to? You know?
Right. Well, I mean, I was gonna say, yeah. I mean, when I was doing it and I just like choose a video, I always look at the song and what's hot because that means it's gonna get more people to look at the video because of the rotation of that song. So when they hear it, when they see it, it'll put it in the algorithm for me to get more views. Only reason why I would do that, you know, I don't really think of, oh, you know, this is what they're saying, this and that and that. If it's hot and everybody's listening to it, I just throw it in there. Yeah.
How old are you, man? Were you doing this on social media when you were 12 years old? No, I'm talking about 12-year-olds posting stuff right now, like with that music. It's
just dinosaurs when I was 12.
I was about to say, yeah, I was more into the playing the little MASH game with the piece of paper.
Football game, and there's like a little blips, you know.
Right.
Yeah, I figured that if it's not appropriate enough for the youngest kids on the team, then it really isn't appropriate enough to post.
Definitely.
And I do think about the sponsors because that's really what I mean. They get a lot of coverage. I mean, if you share something of profiles and it's got your rider in it, or it's got their rider in it, and it's also got your rider in it, it gets shared hundreds of times and it's free. I don't particularly care for Facebook, but it's free and it gets your product out there. Somebody accused me because I had to stand up for my management skills, because I'm in a new position, and I have 4 golden cranks. And when I was with my last company, I got 4 golden cranks. And someone said that oftentimes, and I do believe this is true, that companies give away bikes, and that's how they get so many people to vote for them for Bike of the Year.
Oh.
And I explained how I didn't do that. I never did that, because Rennie, I can say Rennie just couldn't afford that. He was a small manufacturer. He poured everything into the factory. We just didn't do that. And so the whole free bike thing came up, and that is not how we did that. But we did do, everybody on my team had to have one person in their family that had social media and would share one thing a week.
Oh, that's cool.
I had 260 riders globally. And so we had a tremendous amount of coverage.
Yeah.
So when you can organize and actually organize these kids, each one of those riders has a family.
Yeah.
When you get them to share something, it's everywhere. I don't see that anywhere else.
Yeah.
Why not? It's easy. It's free.
Yep. See, Shannon, so you can get your 3 fans out there to just share those, and then it'll go from there.
Yeah. Or you get 260 families to share it.
Yep.
And then it's everyone they know, which is usually everybody in BMX.
Right.
Yeah. Because it wasn't just the United States. It was everywhere. So it was cool.
Everett doesn't know anybody in BMX.
How do you feel about the way the bike has changed? You remember we grew up on a bike, like for some reason the bike that we grew up on, you could pull up to a jump, pull up, you're gonna get up in the air. These new bikes, the way that they're designed, it's like they're designed to go fast. So I'm scared to like pull up, because I know I feel like I have to yank it a lot harder to get up. So I just don't even mess with it. Like I couldn't wheelie on these bikes if I wanted to. Like, I grew up, I'm like, I can sit down and pedal and just pull up, and I'm riding, and I see the kids doing it today. But on these newer bikes, I'm like, nah, if I pull up, I'm going to fall right on my back. Like, because I got to yank it. Like, I'm just,
They're different. They're different. Do you remember how we used to go around turns and we'd like wheelie out of them?
Yeah.
We don't do that anymore. I was watching like the Jocks Jag 1981 World Championships, and we're doing this down straightaways. We don't do that. It's terribly inefficient for one, but I think the bikes did lend themselves to it. I think that it was just really bad geometry, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Listen, I still have a terrible habit of doing that, right?
Yeah.
Listen, like I looked at videos of myself. Every second pedal coming out of the gate, I'm lifting the bike up. It's the stupidest thing. I hate it, and I probably still do it. Coming out of the turn, I still crank one pedal and lift the bike up like I'm like that guy or something. And then, a couple of times I did it, I wasn't fully around the corner, and the front wheel did like this,
Okay, put an extra link in your chain and move your wheel back.
Well, it's back now. I have a different frame, and the chain stay is way longer, so it's not going to happen.
I think that will help. Although I'm not a coach, and I don't even know why that whole coaching thing that started, I guess maybe 10 years ago, and I get why they did it. I get why USA BMX did it, because they needed someone responsible to be at the track when people were at the track. But the people who revel in that, I'm a trainer. I don't want to be a trainer. I don't want to train anybody. I don't know why people, I can tell you, I can watch you race and I can help you maybe once, or I can tell you where you're slowing down. I can't fix it, but I can tell you. I can identify it, but I don't think anybody needs my advice. And I know people that haven't raced since the 80s, and they're trainers. Shouldn't be.
And you know what? They're using the same training techniques that they used in the 80s.
Yes.
And it's hilarious.
They're like teaching kids one pedal starts. And I'm just like, oh my. Yeah. And you're just like, why are...
Go ahead.
I'm 5'8", right? This guy told me I need 9-inch bars and 180 cranks. I was like, come on, man. Like,
Has he raced this decade?
I don't know, but it was just the
Is
funniest
he?
thing.
Because that's what that sounds like.
Oh,
Is he
he's
a big
blind
guy?
or something. Maybe, I don't know. He couldn't see me how tall I was. Yeah. Well, anyway.
So do you watch your husband's race and critique him on what he should have did?
No.
Uh-oh.
It has never gone well. But I will just go, you need to watch some game tape. That's what we call it. Because you can go back to YouTube now.
Yeah.
And after the race is completely over. Do you remember the first year of Grands where the first straight was like 50 feet? And everyone was like, what is this? So my husband, I'm going to say this the nicest way I can. He does not have the best starts in BMX. I bought him a gate. It's out in the garage. We've had it for 20 years. It's great. It's got a Cartessa box. It doesn't go out. No. Cam Moore has come to my house and given Drew gate start advice. Like he's great too. If you ever want to improve your gate start, that guy has the best gate clinic. He will show you. Like he'll have his phone. He'll go, this is me, this is you, this is me, this is you. And he'll just dissect your gate and tell you where you need to be. And it's amazing. And
I still fall out of the gate in flats.
He's just an amazing gate instructor. And I think it's just all the years that people used him for clinics, honestly.
Right.
The Rennans, the Mr. Long did a lot of clinics. And so he had his riders teach them. So, but he's picked up some really great skills. So if you ever take a clinic, any clinic, take a gate clinic from Cam Moore because they're excellent.
I think I might have to set that up.
Well, he's starting to take on riders now to do some clinics, so that's pretty cool. Yeah,
take it; it's worth it. There's not many I would recommend because I'm really not into that whole training thing.
Mm-hmm.
That dude and starts.
So I rode with him a few times, and I definitely learned a lot. No doubt about it. And stuff that stuck with me.
Don't blame your writing for that. Don't blame him. Don't blame that for what you put out.
So you saying that wasn't a good plug for Cam right there?
Yeah. No, don't do that to him.
I totally just ruined everything she just talked about. Don't watch me, Ryan.
Don't watch me.
Don't watch my starts.
Go back to the gate clinics. Just let you know.
Yeah.
He's a great with the gate clinics. It's awesome.
Oh yeah.
Just amazing. So anyway, that first year where the gate was, the first straight was like 50 feet.
Mm-hmm.
He couldn't get out of his own way, but somehow by the second day, he figured it out. He got second. Drew, again, does not have the best starts, but he watched some game tape. And he goes, and I'm like right here during this straight, what do you think? And he goes, oh yeah, I didn't pedal at all. I'm like, and I'm not saying anything because he won't do anything if I say it. But we watched some game tape. He fixed it. I don't ever critique because that doesn't end well. That's not good.
So at the end of the day, you guys finish racing. He doesn't do so great. You guys hop in the car. Is there anything being said?
Nope. We can talk appraisals. We can talk about who we saw. We don't talk about his racing ever.
That was me as a kid, man. If I didn't win, man, don't talk to me. Just I'm good when I get home, but on the ride home, don't say nothing to me.
I don't want to make him feel bad. He probably already feels bad. I don't want to make him feel worse.
Yeah.
I'm sure, and he's been riding long enough. He knows what he did wrong. So yeah, you telling him is probably just like don't,
salt.
Yeah,
stop.
That's crazy because now that we're having this conversation, I think about how many times my girlfriend would tell me, all the stuff I was doing wrong every time I got across the finish line. Huh.
No, you don't need that.
Yeah, no,
if you don't know, there's video now.
Right,
you can go back and look it. You'll know.
And we could build her bike.
Right. I know, right?
We were talking about the whole pedal thing. Pedal.
Right.
Like your kid's going to forget, like while he's out there.
Right.
He didn't forget.
What's
He knows
more
about
dumb? What's more dumb to say than pedal, man? When the kid's on the track pedaling,
I think that's it.
like that is the dumbest thing you could possibly say, right?
Right.
That's
Well, no.
it.
Yeah. All right.
That's it. Or you're in the wrong moto might work, but it's probably pedal. Yeah. I
When
have a kid on my team, Trenton Duvall, and almost everybody in BMX knows Trenton. I didn't know that. I tried to introduce him to the fly guy, Ray Hudson. They knew each other. In fact, Ray stayed at his house. I did not know that. I was being polite. Anyway, we were pitted right across the finish line, right across from the finish line at Nashville. And this guy was like manhandling his 7-year-old for getting third in a semi.
Jeez.
And it was like an open semi. And I'm just sitting there in the pit and I see Trenton like hop over the railing, and he went over and grabbed this man. And he wasn't a small man. And Trenton's not a huge guy, but he's like average. And he's screaming at this guy. And he goes, "Now you know what it feels like." And then he lets him go and he just walks away. and he goes, "Are you going to throw me off the team?" And I go, "No." And he goes, "Are you mad?" I go, "No." And he said, "Is there anything you want to say?" And I go, "No." Because I don't know that I would have handled it any differently. That was the ugliest thing I've ever seen. And that little kid needed somebody to stand up for him. And I can't jump that high. So
every time after that, your dad acted up. He probably threatened to get Trenton.
yeah, I'm gonna go back. I just don't think that guy ever like stopped and thought about it, and all the people watching him. But I bet she does now. Yeah. I couldn't believe he cleared it though. Those things are like 3 feet tall. That was amazing. You're like, it's crazy.
Yeah, I had a friend that used to act out. This is just a quick story, and I videotaped him one day and showed it to him. That was it.
Oh no.
He was done. Like he was so embarrassed, so ashamed of himself. Like it changed his life.
He
didn't really believe like that. That's how I was seeing it. That's how he was. So I had to show him, and that was it.
People that act that way don't ever think about that. That's how they look.
Yeah.
No.
How would they know? You're mad. You don't. You're mad. You could never ever like be able to see somebody else's perspective at that exact moment. So. But,
so me and Everett, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, so you've been up and down the states and everything. Which track has been your favorite track?
Louisville before they changed it.
I've heard about that.
Right. Yeah, that was the track until they changed it. That first year they changed it was really bad. It has gotten better. But that first year, Drew said, he goes, "I was racing Todd Perry and he's trying to elbow me." And he goes, "I just pulled over." He goes, "I look so stupid riding." He goes, "I just pulled over because the jumps were really, really deep, like in the first straight and the second straight." He goes, you would disappear. And he goes, "I was going so slow. I don't know how I didn't fall over." And he goes, "It was terrible." And he goes, "I was so unhappy with the way I rode." I'm like, yeah, no, I get that. Yeah, that checks out.
So now that you haven't been racing, do you catch yourself watching races more and watching other riders,
Yes.
like the up and coming riders?
Yes. I've got 14, 15, and 16-year-olds that are completely unknown that are so fast. But I would be poaching them mid-season. And that's not something I do, but something I would do for these three. They're so fast. And nobody knows them. It's crazy.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like straight away in front of their class fast. And they nobody has picked them up yet because no one has seen them. But they're not going to last long. Hoping to snag them up before.
That'd be cool.
There's 2 on Albies and 1 on HRP. But they're fast. They're so fast. And they're in those big classes. They're getting into those big classes. One kid wants to turn pro. And so with Rennie, my last job, he was all about math. It was the one company I worked for that they never did BMX. Like, they aren't ex racers. They were strictly business. And that was kind of cool in a way. They thought about new stuff, where some of the other companies I've been working for, because I went from Morphine Industries to Yes, to Hydrogen, to DK. And everybody but Yes had been in the industry already, where Yes was not. And so Rennie was all about numbers. He's an engineer. And he said, there is no correlation between fast and bike sales. Fast kids don't sell more frames. So you can spend tons of money getting the fastest kids, and they're not going to sell more bikes. So if you're in the sport to have a really fast team, then spend the money and get fast kids. But if you are working for a bike company, or if you have a company and that is why you're racing BMX, is to sell bicycles, don't go for the expensive fast kids. Go for the kids that are the nicest and that have the best social media presence and have same parents. Same parents is a must. That's like number one. You may just put that in the same parents folder and everything else inside. You can do nothing with crazy parents.
Right.
Nothing.
Right.
That's a deal breaker. Like, come back and talk to me. Bring your parents with you. I don't care if you're 20. Bring your parents back with you.
Well, interview the parents first, and then go from there.
Right. If you got crazy parents, they're gonna make me hide from the tent. They're gonna make everybody else hide from the tent. Yeah. So there's no point in that. But yeah, there is no correlation between how fast your riders are and how much money you spend on them and how much your bike sales are. Because if that were the case, think about all the fast kid teams. Like, what happened to Haro? Haro had really fast riders. What happened? Or Mongoose. Well, I guess Mongoose is picking up all the Haro kids. Wait, there's a bunch of other like teams that crashed and burned. Yeah. And they had the fastest riders, and they had to let them all go. Nice sells bikes. And it's really crazy because BMX, in all these other sports, they have salespeople, and they have like a demo day. Have you ever been to a mountain bike race or a mountain bike event? The first day or the practice event, they will have a sprinter. They will have 20 bikes, and they will have them. You can go and ride those bikes. There are salespeople there in uniforms to answer any questions you might have. We don't have that in BMX. No one has ever sold to the people in BMX. It's a conversation. That's it. And I'm not going to say fish in a barrel because that's kind of a rude, crude statement, but truly, it's a conversation. Let me tell you about my bike. Let me tell you about why you should buy, complete bikes from me. Well, because the Swift is $249 and we have replacement parts. Comes in 3 colors. What do you want to put that on? That's
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not because I don't have to pay a stable full of pros. I can sell a complete for $249. I can sell you 10 completes and you have a whole line of loaners that you can build your track presence with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, we came up in the 80s flipping through the magazines, and that's where all the ads were. We'll see the new bikes, we'll see the new parts, the pro riders, some of the expert riders. That's where all of our stuff came from. It's a little different now, the way they push the product, and if they push it at all. Oh yeah.
If they push it at all. And that's kind of the thing, is that a lot of the bigger companies have kind of abandoned BMX because it's just, there's not enough margin. There's just not enough margin. And that was kind of one of the reasons that Yes decided to sell the factory, was that, they're producing X amount of frames, but There's a frame maker in California, and he makes everybody's frames in the United States. Any aluminum frames, he is making them, with the exception of 1 or 2 brands. Like, S&M, that guy's still, he's still making frames. And GT, and they're still making their own frames, I believe.
Do you know that guy out in Cali?
Yeah.
We're trying to get in touch with him, and he's not answering our calls. No, we reached out to him. I think he did reach back out to us, but we just didn't connect.
It's a scheduling thing for us right now.
He's crazy busy.
I'm
probably,
I am sure.
Yeah, you probably have a better chance of like reaching one of his kids.
Really?
They're adults. Yeah, they're adults.
Yeah. I mean, that'd be cool too, because I know that's like somebody that was on my long-term list. Like, yo, we gotta talk to this guy, man, because
I can imagine the stories that he might have.
Yes, that's why.
People he's built with, things he's built. I would love to have a conversation with him. And Jared Rafflick that works at DK, he said he's so nice. So, but he was a competitor to Yes, because we were doing the same types of things. But Sal has, now he's got 100% of the business, basically 99% of the business.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.